Hi, this is Carlos Reyes from rcadvisor.com. I'm here today to talk about the third prototype of the Pickerel design, and I'm really excited. I think this one might be it, or at least it's very close. The prototype, the half-size prototype for prototype number 2 was this one, and I was cheating a little bit because this is a half size, so I took a sheet of foam board, cut it into 4 pieces, so it's 10 inches by 15. So everything that I do here is half the size of the full-size airplane. But I was cheating with this one a little bit because it just didn't fit, so I had to add these extensions, which was a nice way to get it to be bigger, but it felt like cheating. It was more complicated, more work, more glue, heavy glue that you need to add, and I also thought it was a bit pitch sensitive. Just a small change in the amount of weight could make a big difference. So I thought I could do better. But anyway, I had started building a full-size one of that. I goofed. I made a mistake in how I measured it. So that actually kind of worked out. Said, okay, I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to think carefully about this. Where can I take this in a new direction? And this is what I came up with. There were 2 changes that I made. One of them was that I said, okay, I want to make sure that it fits on a single sheet of foam board. So this is exactly 15 by 10. So there's no cheating, with extensions. And I just simplified it because I remember that first prototype when I was flying it. That was just a real floater. So it didn't need to be that big. If I make it smaller, then I'm going to have more power. And again, the name Pickerel is supposed to mean very agile and aerobatic. So this is a better fit. But the other thing that I did is that I made a cutout for the propeller, because that was the problem. With the ones that were smaller, unless I made the sweep very shallow, but then the problem with the very shallow sweep, there's 2 problems with that. One problem, this is the version where I had done that. One problem is that there's just not a lot of room here for balancing things out. So I have to put a lot of weight, and I have to put it kind of back here, so it makes it very pitch sensitive. Meaning as far as the CG sensitive, I guess is probably a better term. But there's another problem, which is if I put the elevons here, they're not very far back, because again the angle is not very high. So they work okay as ailerons, but they're not going to work so well as elevators because they're kind of forward. So I wanted to push them as far back as I could, which they're flush with the trailing edge of the wing here, and then that forced me to have a more of a angle here. So I had more room for adding ballast. But then of course the problem became this is going to be just too small, which I already knew. So I said, okay, what if I make a cutout? The wing is going to be reinforced. Not in this one, but in the full size. I'm going to add the dowels, and of course the whole point with the joint wing is that everything reinforces every other piece. So, and with it being smaller also, it's easier for it to be strong. So this is what I came up with. It's got the notch here. I test flew this, it just flies beautifully. And in fact, as you can see, I didn't even add a vertical stabilizer because it just didn't seem to need one. I mean, I think it will fly a little better as it is right now. I mean, if I launch it like this, it recovers pretty quickly. But I do see just a little bit of hunting in the jaw. It kind of goes like this, just a little bit. So hard to say. Once I double the size, is it going to need a rudder? With the motor blast there, it'll probably be fine, but it'll be trivial to add one. So I'll think about it later. These got pushed way back, so they're going to work well as elevators. The CG is just about where this line is. Actually, a little bit further back, like right in between here is working great. That's where it's at right now, and it's very stable. So But I'll tell you one thing that happened with this one that was really interesting. Is that, you know, I first built it, and I like to test everything that I can. So I always do at least one launch without any weight, you know, which I know it's not going to work, but I just try it, you know, just to see what happens. You know, just only takes me, you know, 5 seconds just to throw it, you know, and of course, you know, doesn't have any, it's very tail heavy, so it doesn't have much pitch stability, so it just kind of rears up like the first prototype was doing. So then I added the weight. And, you know, of course, I also was flying it without the vertical stabilizer just to see what happens. I don't have any trim tabs just to see what happens. But then I added two large paper clips, and it's just beautiful. So, but something I had not done, I had not rounded the leading edges. You know, they were just square. And with that configuration, the balance point was, you know, was maybe, you know, like around here. So it was just ahead of the slot. And I'm like, okay, let me see what happens after I streamline it. So I took this file, you know, medium grit, I guess, and I just sanded the edges. You know, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to, you know, just make it a little bit nicer. And I also did the same thing here. And I made no other changes. And then I went and I launched it again in my living room. And it was, all of a sudden, it was very nose heavy, which was a big surprise because all I had done was streamline it. Well, I think what happened is, with it being streamlined, it's working as a much better as an airfoil, you know, as a real wing. And of course, you know, with this, you're always going to have more, you know, the CG was up here, so there's a lot of wing area behind the CG. But all of a sudden, you know, I guess it was working better, you know, as a wing because it had a much better airfoil. So I started moving the CG back, you know, and again, I think it was like around here. I started moving it back, and I think, you know, it's kind of at this point right now, you know, halfway between, you know, the front of the slot and the rear of the slot. So that's a huge difference. You know, I think I measured it to maybe like 3/4 or maybe 1 inch back. That's a huge difference because the only thing that I did was just round out the leading edges. But you know, and it was flying okay before, but now if I launch it, I mean, it's got a really good glide ratio. So it's just a nice flying airplane. And yeah, you know, that unless I had tried it, I wouldn't have known. And you know, part of what's going on is that I did put together a spreadsheet before for doing the calculations on a flying wing, and the problem is that this is an unusual air shape on the wing, and it's also an unusual airfoil. So, you know, trying to use my spreadsheet to figure out where the center of gravity is supposed to be, I don't know, you know, it will be very hard to do. You know, there's all these panels that I will have to enter. And I'm not sure how much I will trust it. You know, of course, the airfoil is kind of odd. So I think I'd much rather build a half-size model, which is really quick. I mean, I can put one of these together in like no time. I've been using the glue stick for all of this, and it works really well, and it dries really quickly. So now I have a pretty good idea where the CG needs to go. So I'll probably fly, you know, maybe make the first fly with it right on the slot, at the leading edge of the slot, and see how it goes from there. By the way, I've also been getting a lot of practice with the light-tight crafters, you know, this is a new glue for me, and I'm liking it. You know, I think the texture of it, you know, and the viscosity, it reminds me more than anything of like some hand cream, and that's what it looks like too. It's kind of like white. But it's not sticky in the least, and it's, you know, it's non-toxic, which is a big plus, I think, because, you know, I don't have to worry if I touch it. You know, I can just, with water, I can wash it off, and it comes off real easy. And I think the tube says that, you know, in 2 hours, you can manipulate the material. I'll bet within 1 hour you can manipulate it, you know, without too much trouble. Of course, you know, you really want to leave it overnight for the full cure. But otherwise, there's a lot to like about it. You know, it doesn't have much of a smell. You know, it stay where you put it, it stays there. So it's definitely, you know, it's not like white glue which has some flow. This really just kind of sits there. And you know, relatively inexpensive. You know, I'm getting a lot of mileage out of this tube, which costs like, I don't know, like $3. So anyway, I can recommend this a lot. Of course, I'm in love with the glue stick, and you know, all of these half-size models I've done everything with the glue stick. Even the edge joint, like this one. Well, this one I used the other glue. Let me find the tube right here. This is the perfect glue. So I use the perfect glue for the leading edge joint, but with this joint back here, I use the glue stick, and it did, you know, it's a perfect job. You know, I mean, I can try and separate it, and it's not going anywhere. Now, you know, the thing with the glue stick is that you need to have a pretty good joint, because it doesn't have any kind of gap filling ability. But otherwise, you know, it goes in there, it disappears. It weighs nothing, you know. In fact, you know, you can, you know, it's a very tight joint. But this one, the joint here wasn't so good, so I said, okay, let me use the perfect glue, and I'm still very happy with that. I know, yeah, and they're all flexible glues. You know, this one is nice and flexible after it dries. Perfect glue is too. There's no problem sanding any of them and cutting when you need, you know, after it dries. So anyway, I built this one, really happy with how it flies, and I'm in the middle right now. I don't know how well you can see, but I'm in the middle right now building a full-size version of this one, and yeah, you know, the angle is right. And it's got some really nice qualities. You know, nice quality about it is that there's pretty much a straight line that you can draw between, you know, it's like right here, pretty much right here, that you can draw from wingtip to wingtip. So I actually cut a slot. I mean, first I built it without any reinforcement, and it felt flexible, you know, in this direction. So I cut a slot, and I'm about to put in, this is a 3/16 square basswood. You know, it's really hardwood from Hobby Lobby, and it's gonna go from wingspan to wingspan, like right there, and that's a nice quality. You know, that I can do that. You know, it's got some funny stuff going on, but it just fits. And I already glued the leading edge reinforcement. Of course, everything still needs to be sanded and rounded and all of that. I've got the motor mount, but I haven't glued that in yet. That's coming up next. I'm also going to do a reinforcement, just like I'm doing in the back. It's going to go here in the front, like I was doing with the other prototype, just to help it, give it some more strength there. Otherwise, so far so good. You know, the weather's not the best. It's actually rainy today, and it's been pretty windy, so I think I'm going to have to go early in the morning. But I might be ready to fly this tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. I like it a lot. I think it's showing a lot of promise. And till next time.